we will be going over tribes. We will be missing Alicia. I think she's on a trip or something. And we will be going over kind of the third quarter of the book, just since there's not really official titles. Steve has given us kind of a section, if you will, to read.
Yeah.
This would be the third quarter, is the best way to describe it. So take us away, Mr. Fearless Leader.
Because as Seth, he just riffs. And they're like 1 minute to 3 minute riffs, just bam, 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 bam. But there is kind of a theme.
There is.
As we're getting to this point, there's kind of a theme that everything goes. So a couple of the thoughts I want to kind of dive deeper on, because he has this story about the rock climber. Okay. I let my dog out.
Those rock climbers just totally like, sidebar. Have you ever seen the rock climbers that he's talking about actually climb and compete?
The actual guy? No, I've not.
Not this guy, but have you ever seen somebody who uses the tactic that he's talking about?
I like real quick. I haven't. I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
It's fucking bananas. They literally look like Spider-Man as they go up the wall.
Right.
It's crazy.
It's like a Jackie Chan movie or something. Just
it's
like
crazy.
So that's, and basically he starts telling some of the stories, but one of the final takeaways he talked about was there was the one where they all had to climb up and they took their time climbing up, trying to figure out whatever. And he went last and he just ran at the damn thing and just jumped up to the top and boom, boom, boom. And his thought coming into it was leaning into the problem makes the problem go away. It was kind of the final takeaway of that. And again, I guess from a leadership standpoint, that's our job as leaders, because the people that we're leading don't want to do that. You know, as leaders, we have to be the ones that say, all right, I'll jump up the damn wall. Watch this. What is it that we do that is that? Like, what's that thing that everybody's afraid of in our businesses and whatever, that really, that's why they're looking for a leader. You know what I mean?
Having awkward conversations about finances or audit findings. That seems to be one thing that a lot of people avoid. And so you kind of just have to take the lead, which is interesting because as an auditor, the ones that take the lead and actually go out and say, look, these are your issues, this is what you do about it, yada, yada, yada. Whereas everybody else is hiding, those are usually the ones that end up becoming manager and senior manager and partner ultimately after that. So
I would say in our industry, it's twofold and depends on what side of the coin you're talking about. If you're talking about, with clients, I think a lot of agents have a tendency to not always want to be upfront and honest with their clients. So I think that you start to build your tribe as an agent by being honest and having those difficult conversations. So like if you've ever taken a listing that didn't sell, that person is super frustrated because the agent they were talking to didn't know the market well enough or didn't have the ability to say, I know you want $9 million for your house, but it's really only worth 500,000. Right. And so I think having those leaders have tough conversations. And then I think, to build your tribe in this industry, it's a matter of just being out there, right? Being present and finding a way to implement value. I think most people follow leaders that implement value in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's where that tribe kind of gets built from. And so, just putting yourself out there, being on social media, picking up the phone, making those cold calls, all of those other things that people are afraid to do, I think is why our tribe, our clients follow us. And, when you look at your numbers and you're looking at, 100 transactions over a few years or even in 1 year, and then you look at somebody else who did, say, 5 transactions in a year, I just think that you find that the people that are doing more business with a bigger tribe, following them, probably are providing more value and they're willing to step up to the plate and have those tough conversations, no matter what they are, whatever situation.
Right. And so that's your clients. Now for your team, I mean, I'm thinking about that because as you saw, I just kind of rebranded and did everything. And so thank you very much. So, I mean, I'm in team building mode now. So I got to thinking about how I was when I first started as a realtor and how I am now. Like there are things I was looking for in my team leader that I was like, holy crap, that guy really like runs through walls, and that guy really does this and that, da, da, da. And it's like, and that's stuff that I'm comfortable doing now. I mean, I'll like, sometimes an agent thinks that they're going to gum up a deal. Like they think that I'll back down because I'm afraid of, missing a deadline or whatever. And I'm like, let's burn this down. I'll show you how crazy. You think you're crazy. I'll show you crazy. Burn it down. Let's go. So I think that for me, that's what our team is looking for when we hire people, is they want that leader that is fearless, but it's all this back end of the stuff of website management and like all the crap. Oh my Lord, that I don't want to have to deal with. But it's the stuff that like people don't want to deal with. They don't want to, they're afraid of it. They think it's going to eat them alive, and it's just tedious, but it's not, so I think that's part of it too. It's that having somebody that's willing to run through a wall, and being that person that's willing to run through the wall.
Well, and I think as agents, while we are building teams, I've been watching Casey Rutherford with a very, very, very close eye, because she's brought some people on her team. Some of those people have since left. I don't know how much you keep up with what she's doing. One of them, her office manager, didn't work out, and she, like, this was a friend. It was somebody who was already in her tribe. It was somebody who she knew. She was like, oh, I need this person. And she actually went and recruited that person from another job, and long term it ended up not working out, not so much because of Casey, but because the person wasn't fulfilling the role as Casey was hoping, right? I think they had different perspectives. And I don't know if it was a negative or a positive split between the two of them. But if you watch her with Allison, which is her buyer's agent,
right,
she's killing it.
Yeah,
right?
Allison's sharp. Yeah.
I mean, Casey's killing it being that leader for Allison.
Right.
Because if you look at most leaders in the real estate industry that have mega teams, and I've heard this complaint from so many people, and I think this is where Casey is not messing up. So many people say, like, there was somebody who joined, I think it was the Curtain team, and it was somebody like you and I who didn't really need to join a team, who knew what they were doing. I don't know if you know Wendy or not, but she joined and was super excited to join, or maybe she joined the Peters company, and she was really excited. She knew it wasn't a forever relationship, or didn't feel like it was a forever relationship, but she thought, let me go, let me learn. And she didn't. And I think as realtors, we tend to be afraid of competition, even on our team and in our downline. And if you watch Casey, she's not afraid of competition with Allison. She's excited to teach Allison everything she knows, and to watch that bond in the relationship between the two of them. Like, I think Casey's doing everything to a T in this book, because she has created, I mean, Allison is her biggest cheerleader. Like Allison is she is her biggest cheerleader. And Allison, I don't think Casey's doing a great job taking care of Allison financially, right? So she doesn't have a reason to want to leave.
Right.
And she's also not keeping blinders on her. When Wendy left the Peters company, I talked to her, and was like, you were there for like 4 weeks. She's like, yes, because they were like, I had to sit for 4 hours a day making phone calls. I had to turn in all these numbers. I had to do all these things. And I wasn't opposed to doing them, but I wasn't getting anything to enhance myself and my growth. It was very much blinders on. I couldn't see anything else going on in the company. I couldn't grow with the company. I couldn't even make suggestions for the listing agents. And I've had 1 million listings, right? I'm not a brand new baby agent. Like, I'm a very experienced agent. And so she kind of had a very bad experience. And I think us as agents tend to do that. I think the modern agent, the new team building is more of an open book policy, but we're turning a page here, right? Which is the dawning of a new era, because I think the Peters company and the way that those companies are running their broker or their teams is very antiquated. And I don't think it creates that tribe. I don't think it creates that unity. And, you made a post today that Kyle Whistle's one of your biggest mentors. His tribe's not going anywhere. Because Kyle's never been afraid to share anything. Kyle's never been afraid to give something away. He's never looked at you or I or the other 3,500 people in his downline as competition.
Right.
It's been here's your stuff. How can I help you? How can I remain as the leader of that tribe? How can I remain up here in this bubble in your life forever? And that's his objective.
And because I grew up in the team that I was at, I mean, that's how we were. I mean, we were everybody throwing a headset at 8 o'clock and it was rock and roll time and let's go and we're going to pound phones. And some people didn't fit in that box. Like they fit in the Casey Rutherford box. Casey doesn't call expires for 4 hours a day. That's not if you were to make Casey Rutherford do that, she would not have lasted in real estate. You know what I mean? I mean, she wouldn't be where she is.
No.
And Allison wouldn't be. And so I think, like you said, antiquated. Great word. I mean, this is not the way it used to be. And we've got to pivot with our people and say, I mean, some people, I know guys that are like, give me a headset and I will pound the damn phone for 4 hours. I love it. And there's some people like, hell no. I'm going to lunch and I'm going to coffee and I'm going to dinner. And I'm going to meet my people and that's how I'm going to build. If it works, it works, you know?
Well, but I think if you look at the people that build their tribes, right? The agents who don't pound the phone, the agents who actually choose to build those relationships and bring in those, you know, people into their tribe, I think their business model has much more longevity than the ones that only pound the phone for new agents. You know, I don't call anybody out here, but there's an agent in our mentor group that does about 100 closings a year. And I'm pretty positive it's 100 new faces every year. It's very little repeat business. And I love it. And you know, listen, I'm all about using the same lead sources that he's using and having that come in and that kind of stuff. But that scares me to build a business that way, to not have that tribe and not have that connection with your people and making sure you're bringing that value and making sure you're moving forward correctly. Because like, what happens if those lead sources dry up?
Well, and in 10 years, I don't want to be doing that in 10 years, you know? At some point, we got to get off that hamster wheel and get on a different one.
Correct.
But it's the hamster wheel of having people who love us, trust us, and all that stuff, and actually building.
Correct.
Cool. That was a good riff. I like that. It's 12:50, so we only have 10 minutes left. So where do I want to go?
We're going to let the floor open to David because he's super ready.
So, I guess kind of piggybacking off what you guys were saying as far as like leadership on the team. What I've been trying to focus is how to get my team into that leadership mindset. And really the reason is because if you have someone on your team that's not a leader versus someone is a leader, it's like those ones that aren't leaders, it's not that they won't work. They just need so much more guidance. And so as a leader, it's like the more guidance you have to give, sometimes it's a little like, me, it's a little overwhelming. It gets a little exhausting. But if you have a leader on your team, a lot of the times, if you provide that initial guidance, they may be providing guidance to the rest of your team. And they may be kind of exciting everybody, getting everybody else into an ownership feeling, you know. So I think on the team is kind of where I'm trying to focus. Like, how do I get that leadership mindset to my team members? Because it's like, you don't have to be a manager. You don't have to be top dog. You don't have to be the owner to be a leader. You can be an intern and be a leader.
What book did you just go find?
LOL.
Leaders eat last. Because I'm going to riff off of the last point because we got 10 minutes. I had a couple things I want to talk about. This one I want to hit. Of all the chapters in this book, if anybody who's watching this or whatever, again, they're quick riffs. The chapter leaders go first. Now, leaders lead last, according to Simon Sinek. Okay, this is a great book, but leaders go first. That chapter is that, and it's a real quick one. That is like the whole book in a nutshell. And it's about kind of what we were talking about the things like he was talking about, like Amazon. Like when Amazon first came around, like everybody's like, "This is a stupid idea." There's nothing.
Or
like
Google.
Facebook, it's like some computer program some geeks wrote. They'll be gone in 3 years. It's like, you know, you look at Blockbuster and Netflix. You look at, I mean, there's so many stories
Well, my favorite story is take all of that fun stuff away. Pet rocks. Someone literally put eyes on a rock, and in the 80s and
Hated
90s,
that bitch.
correct, and in the 80s and 90s had an entire tribe of humans. My grandmother was included in that tribe, and every place we went, she bought a damn pet rock. And it was no like if you can formulate a tribe to follow you on rocks with eyes, anything's possible.
Right. And just imagine what that would be now versus back in the 80s. Now you have you're the official Instagram, pet rock page, and like your pet rocks are like going on vacation places, and like, this is my pet rock at the Grand Canyon. I mean, I just think of how the tribe would be, because that's part of the book too, is like, with all the levers that we have now with the internet, like, there's no excuse anymore. But what have you had to do in your business, like, as far as like going first, as far as innovating, or what do we need to do next? Like, being a leader, because that's part of being a leader. It's part of running into the fire of the unknown, like what have you had to do, or what do you need to do?
So I would say that as far as being an innovator and a leader in real estate in today's time is finding a way to provide value outside of just helping someone buy or sell a house, right? I think as a realtor, even 10 years ago, they may look for a housekeeper, they may look for a handyman, but there's a lot more transit people. So knowing your market, knowing your area, knowing, where can you eat for $10 a day? Where can you eat for $50 a day? Where's a good place to get $100 meal? Where's a good place to go get a haircut? Where's a good place to go? Who's a good chiropractor? I think as a realtor, I think having that local tribe with local small businesses is more important today than it's ever been.
Right.
I feel like as a real estate investor, probably even more so, especially as a builder too, because I imagine, when you go to resale, I mean, your tribe, they're going to know exactly what you're doing. They're going to be like, wow, okay, this is fantastic work, let's go for this. Whereas, like, you don't have a tribe, they might not have that same, they may not understand that same value that you put into a home like you probably did.
Right. So, and I think that we kind of already kind of riffed about that, talking about the running up the rock thing, but just, I love the fact that he always talks about making a ruckus. That's our job as leaders. People make things, but leaders make a ruckus. And that's a theme not only of this book, that's like a theme that he always goes back to. And it's about art. And I'm just going to riff for just a minute about like Seth and what he talks about. He always talks about art. Like, art's the stuff that we make. Like, anybody can build like a desk, anybody can build, but the art is what we like put into it. The art is like our emotions into it, it's like, it's the thing that a robot can't do. You know what I mean? And, that's what, from a leadership standpoint, that, that's important too. I loved the final thing we'll talk about is that riff they talked about. You talked about being with a realtor group during the financial crisis of 2008. And again, we're kind of starting to spin our wheels a little bit, but it's that same, half the room was scared to death because, oh crap, the boat's going down. Now what are we going to do? Like, let's keep doing the same thing we're doing, but I don't think it's going to turn out well. And
well, that's the definition of insanity, right?
But that they never figured it out. And it's like, but there's a lot of other people. And again, Kyle Whistle, this is a Kyle Whistleism. He's like, I love change. Bring it every day. Something changed. Let's go. Because anytime you change, somebody lets go of the wheel and goes flying off.
So change is actually in the top 5 fears of all humans.
Mm-hmm.
Public speaking, I think change is actually number 5.
Yeah.
People are afraid of
it. I kind of like change.
Well, sure. Well, I mean, look at it from a building perspective, right? Steve, I'm sure you hear all the time, right? Like, these houses in Atlanta are boring. We have the worst architecture ever. We build 4 walls that are flat And when you walk inside, it's the same house. But take
Right.
somebody in a house that's got a different elevation on the front, right? We started getting where it was brick and stack stone, or a little bit of brick and, you know, maybe you'd have a little bit of siding or like some cedar siding or something. You started getting a little bit more creative, and then all of a sudden take somebody who doesn't even love a modern build, but take them to see a modern build in Atlanta, and those builders, those flippers, they're the ones catching attention right now, because people, while they fear it, they like it as well. They just don't want to be the leader, right? So to your point, it's how do you figure out how to be the leader in the new, innovative, whatever it is in your industry, to keep your tribe excited, because you'll get stagnant and boring quick.
You gotta make a ruckus. I said you gotta make a ruckus. Kind of going back to what Steve said. I think that's huge for this book, just the way that he kept repeating that. Because it's, I mean, to lead change, you got to make a lot of noise.
That's right.
People don't like
it. And Laura, you just hit on it. Everybody loved the new look. Like, everybody gravitates towards it. Everybody gravitates towards new. Like, you know, and in sports, if somebody does something new, like in football, if there's a new, like, everybody always talks about the Wildcat. I don't know if it's a play that they used to run, and the one team came up with it. I forget, I think it may have been the Dolphins that came up with it, and like nobody could figure it out, but everybody loved it. And so everybody like, all right, we're going to copycat it, and then we're going to start doing it. And then then they figured it out, and it kind of faded away. But that mean it was a failure? No, it wasn't a failure. It was great because somebody thought outside the box and said, crap. So like there are all those things that we can do. And I think Casey Rutherford's a perfect example of
killing it. She's killing it as new innovative leadership in real estate today.
Because there's probably a lot of old school people looking at it saying, man, that's just, you can't win like that. That's just
Yep. They're thinking Allison's going to take all of her business at some point, and she's not. She'll never be competition to Casey, ever.
Right. And they're just, the two of them will just keep grinding, take over the world.
No, we're taking over the world. Damn it.
All right. Get them in on our book club. Let's go.
One house at a time. That's my new slogan. Taking over the world, one house at a time.
Yeah, Casey Rutherford, we want you in the book club. Let's go.
Yeah, major shout out to you, lady. Get in here.
Could we kiss her rear end anymore in this chapter?
Oh, she's just such a good example based on what they've been talking about. So,
right.
And I love to watch her with Allison. It's very cool to watch the relationship between the two of them, at least what we see.
Right. Oh, behind the scenes, yeah, they may. But all brothers and sisters do that too behind the scenes. They'll throw each other up against the wall. Yeah, it is what it is.
Right.
Cool. Awesome. All right, let's finish this book up for next week.
Yes. And I have a couple. I will send out a few titles. I'll make a decision that way if anybody wants to kind of go ahead and order their book for the next one. I've got a few titles I'm looking at as well. So
cool.
Awesome.
Then let's do it.
Same time, same place next week.
Let's do it.
Peace.